what started happening is that during the day, I was in survival mode. Survival mode, I enrolled myself in college. I had to work, had 3 little boys. I had to take them to school. They were in soccer, and it was like, go, homework, blood pumping hard all day long. It was 9 p.m. That was their bedtime. So then all of a sudden, my little casita, it was me, myself, and my emotions. And that was, I felt lonely. I think anxiety started kicking in and all these emotions. And I don't know what the heck would happen. I would numb myself, not on purpose. And I would go to the cabinet, to the pantry, and get my chocolate chip cookies. And of course, I had to have chocolate chip cookies because they're my besties. They filled that void that for a long time. And the awareness came about when I started working on myself. And I was like, wait, it's not that I love cookies so much. It just somehow fills that void. I'm just gonna have one because I'm, working on like my physical. I just went to the gym a couple hours ago, and that one turned into 3, 4, 5. So if you are dealing or continue dealing with emotional eating, know that it's okay. Great. All right, so let's get to it, girls. Let's talk about emotional eating, okay? Through it, do I continue moving forward with grabbing that cookie or whatever that is for you? Or do I do something else that will just motivate you to get out of that thought or that feeling, okay? So understanding that the science behind emotional eating can be eye-opening. For us, our caregivers provided milk right away as we cried. And then that's how, think about it. Emotional eating takes on. You cry, you're going to get fed. Oh, okay. So it's taking care of my emotions. Now reinforced. Our past, again, it's rewarding them through a lollipop, through candy, through ice cream, with food. Reinforcing them as we're growing up. Coping with a coping strategy. As adults, we have now learned from infancy through childhood that food releases dopamine in the brain, and it becomes a means of comfort and coping strategy. Is that like huge awareness for you? No wonder. So as we're grown women now, we know this, but most of you are moms. How can you start changing that for your child? So then that way they don't use food as a way to fill their cup, because that's very unhealthy. So how can you reward them with other things? Quality time. We're going to the park, and it's definitely a void that you're filling. I need you to know this. But what is it that triggers? There's something in you that triggers that. For me, it was late at night. I felt lonely. And even as I told you, the awareness is that I was going through this through my whole marriage. And it was that I felt lonely. I felt alone during the relationship and off of the relationship. And that was when the cookies fulfilled my soul. So I thought, I'm going to provide this food and mood chart. And once again, I tell you, if you want to have a better relationship with food, identifying emotional eating as one of your coping strategies is that you are now aware it's just that, and can start to develop a toolkit. And so now through your emotional eating, you're now adding a new tool to your toolbox. Let's first start unpacking the emotions that lead to comfort eating. Using this food and mood chart, as I mentioned, like really looking into your daily log and taking the time, you'll start seeing the patterns. Numbing versus nurturing. Now you can begin to give yourself a choice. Am I craving food, or is this just a coping strategy to numb? Huge awareness, girls. This is why the food and mood chart is going to help you realize that. All right, so here we're going to get into some work. Briefly, we're going to do 7 minutes of this. So unpacking your feelings. Once you have identified your moods and food choices, it's time for you really unpack your feelings to validate them in order to process them. So sitting here, we're going to go through these experiences as things come up, okay? So if you have a pen and paper, what sensations do I feel in my body when I need to go to that cookie? Okay. And if you don't know the answer to it, just write it down and always go back to this. Your goal is this week before our next meetup to uncover this. Am I going to be able to overcome this? Am I going to be able to do this alone? I'm alone. I have 3 children. Nobody's going to want me with 3 kids. Those were my thoughts. What were your thoughts? What triggered this reaction? The reaction is to go for that cookie. The reaction to say, I'm going to have 1 slice of pizza, but you actually have 5, 6 slices of pizza. If you say, I'm just going to have 1 beer and you go for a full pack, what triggered that reaction? And you're like, well, I don't know. I just go for it, because that's the numbing part, girls. When you just go for it, don't think about it. It's because you already numb. But you need to start discovering what actually triggers it. You really know, nobody knows you more than you. What am I truly craving right now? I was craving sugar, sweetness. Think about that. Ooh, sweetness. Sweetness it's another form of love, right? Love is sweet. Has a boundary been crossed? So any boundaries that have been crossed, that makes you go to, like, that's your trigger possibly. What is out of your control? You knowing what triggers you and you changing when you're going through that feeling, changing. Like my dad always, he has horses, and when the horse is spooked, he's gonna act up. He's gonna do something because he's scared, trying to do his way. He's not trying to follow what you're trying to tell him. My dad always says, move him around, take him in circles, take him in circles. That he will forget the feeling he's going through right now. And we as humans are the same way. But you need to know what are the things that the rituals that I already know that's going to get me out of this funk. And doing it instantly. Do not ignore it or avoid it. Is there a need being unmet? This one is huge, girls. I'm going to say it again. Is there a need being unmet? How else could I honor this feeling? This is a breakthrough, girls. Huge breakthrough. Now, I'm going to leave you with these 2 questions, the last 2.